Russia is not our enemy. Russia is not threatening us. We're the ones that are pushing this dude to F with us. I 1000% disagree. Not $1.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to give me math, not just emotions.
No.
Just give me math, not emotions.
Look how calm I am right now. If you think for right now that $200 billion to a losing war because they're funneling this money and we still have people in the United States homeless and dying in North Carolina. No,
everyone uses the homeless thing.
What do you mean they're homeless? There are.
You know what you can do to fix homelessness? You know what you do? Nothing.
What do you mean
losers are going to be losers. I'm sorry if it...
Adam,
you know what? If you have a drug problem... Listen, how does someone end up homeless?
Vinny from the PBD podcast, as I've stated many times before, is by far my favorite host on this show, including PBD himself. I like Vinny the most. I think he's the most based, and he proved that yet again in this video where he goes after a lot of people's least favorite host on the PBD podcast, Adam, who obviously took a woke stance on the war in Ukraine and the U.S. funding the war in Ukraine, and Vinny had to shut him down. Vinny had to put him in his place. I absolutely love Vinny, and he once again proved that he is the most based podcast host on the PBD podcast. Let's get into this clip here where Vinny absolutely destroys Adam here live in this heated debate on the PBD podcast.
1.6, 1.4, just massive amounts. But when you go line by line, I want to say our defense budget is just slightly below $1 trillion, about 900 billion. Is that what it is, PBD? Mm-hmm. Defense, that's money that we're spending on defense. I want to say the money that we're paying just into paying off our debt alone is what, $1 trillion, PBD? Okay, so when people are saying we're spending all this money in Ukraine, we're giving this money to Israel, Taiwan, 1%. 1% of foreign aid. So do I want to see this money going all across the world? No, I would like to see it used at home. But let's not pretend that that is the biggest expenditure that we have in our balance sheet. This is pennies on the dollar to protect, quote unquote, our allies. Now, do I want to see more money flow Ukraine? I would like to see this war end for sure. But I will say with the fall of Syria, it sort of made us at least take a pause and say, maybe this is a return on investment that is worth the price. Why? Because let's say Iran falls next. If
you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers. I really do appreciate it a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Let's say they fall next. Is that worth the price of $100 billion? I would say yes. So is this money have a return on investment? It might be so, because if Iran had money to basically give money to the Assad regime, Bashar al-Assad would still be in power. If Putin wasn't fighting this war in Ukraine, he was their biggest backer, I want to say, in Syria, they would have basically bailed out Syria. So all I want to do is acknowledge the fact that maybe, just maybe, the fact that we are funding Ukraine as well as the EU and funding our allies, that our actual biggest enemies, Russia, Iran, possibly North Korea, might end up falling in the long run.
I absolutely disagree 1,000% with any money going to especially Ukraine. Russia is not our enemy. Russia is not threatening us. We're the ones that are pushing this dude to F with us. I 1,000% disagree. Not $1.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to give me math, not just emotions.
No.
Just give me math, not emotions.
Look how calm I am right now. If you think for right now that $200 billion to a losing war because they're funneling this money and we still have people in the United States homeless and dying in North Carolina. No,
everyone uses the homeless thing.
What do you mean they're homeless? There are.
You know what you can do to fix homelessness? You know what you do? Nothing.
What do you mean
losers are going to be losers. I'm sorry if it...
Adam,
you know what? If you have a drug problem... Listen, how does someone end up homeless? So you just want to fund...
You know, that's a little bit of a base take, in my opinion, from Adam. I do think losers are going to be losers. You know, at the end of the day, there are people who have, access to all the help that they need, and they still choose to be homeless because, they keep getting money from the government. They keep using that money on drugs, and, they're addicts. They're losers, like Adam said. But what Vinny is talking about is, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm pretty sure what he means, Adam won't really let him speak and complete the full thought, but the U.S. government is giving so much money to foreign aid. But even more egregious is that they're giving so much money to housing illegal immigrants that they're letting in on purpose, and they're neglecting homeless veterans who aren't abusing the government assistance to buy drugs and to continue to be losers. they're begging for some government assistance because they're homeless veterans. They maybe have gotten injured and you know, during their time of service, or maybe they have PTSD, whatever. They're homeless and they're U.S. veterans. They should be a top priority. If they're willing to receive the help and not abuse the government assistance, they should be a top priority, not funding wars in Ukraine. But we all know that they're not just naive and saying, oh, oops, we forgot the homeless veterans. We have to actually send billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine. It's obviously all calculated. They're all sold out to the weapons manufacturers. They love war. They want to keep this war going on for as long as possible. If the U.S. wanted to, they could end the war one way or another. They either pull out of Ukraine, stop funding them, and say, here you go, Russia, just take whatever you want, which is what I would say to do. Like, why do we have an emotional stake in Ukraine getting taken over by Russia? Who cares? I don't care at all if Ukraine gets conquered by Russia, not even a little bit. Until they come to America's doorstep, I don't care. Let them have whatever they want until they start to, you know, actually go act on an ally of ours or, you know, America itself, which is never going to happen, by the way. But the other way that you can end the war is just by crushing Russia. If you really wanted to, we could just go to war with Russia and crush them, and the war would be over. They don't want to do either of those options because the way that they make the most money, the way that the people who bought out all of our politicians make the most money, is by keeping this war dragging on for as long as possible. That's why we find any little reason to go to war with any country. And I'm sure, like, we're seeing all the New Jersey drone stuff happening right now. I saw somebody report, I don't know if it was from, I think it was like MSNBC or someone, report that a government official said that the drones are coming from a mothership parked over Iran. Now we're going to use the drones as a reason to go to war with Iran. Like, I promise, like, it's going to happen. And like I said, these people are all bought out by weapons manufacturers who are just looking to make the most money possible. They don't care how many lives are lost. They don't care how many American tax dollars are going to these countries that should be used on the border, should be used on homeless veterans, could be used in so many better ways. They don't care about that. More money going into their pockets equals good. And the same thing, like, the politicians think the same thing. More money in my pocket equals good. The way that they both win is by staying in these wars as long as possible. Adam is acting like we're giving money to Ukraine out of the kindness of our hearts. Come on, man. These politicians don't care about being kind. They don't care about losing lives or not. They don't care if Russia conquers Ukraine or not. They don't care. All they care about is money in my pocket equals good. And that's fine. It's actually not fine. The politicians of the government shouldn't be like that, but that's just how it is. And I don't think that we're ever going to solve that issue. It is what it is at this point. But it's ridiculous that Adam can't see that, or chooses not to see it, whatever the case is. Let's see what Vinny has to say in response here.
On the homeless, that's what you want to do?
No.
As if they're going to just...
No, Adam.
Because you give them a home, they're just going to stop doing drugs and just take care of themselves?
You're talking about...
You're going to have to do better than that.
Did you even listen to what I said?
I'm just saying.
I said people in North Carolina that were affected by a freaking hurricane that didn't have money because we were giving money to illegals in Ukraine.
That's part of the CBL.
No, time out.
1% of our budget.
Hold on.
Focus on the 99%.
I don't want, Adam, zero money going to any country until everything here is fixed. I'm talking about
Vinny,
everything.
I love you. You're living a pipe dream.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, because we keep giving the money away.
Every year we do this.
No, but guess what?
If you want to solve the problems in America, start with the trillions that we're spending on healthcare, the trillion that we're spending on defense, the trillions that we're spending on Social Security. That's like saying, Adam, I'm broke, and me being like, hey, Vinny, cancel your Netflix subscription. Nobody. Stop spending $3,000 in rent and move into a $1,200 apartment. That's going to move the needle, not the $9.99 expense that you're spending on your reoccurring monthly expenditures.
But start with the big, I think there's really two sides here between the two of you.
Not the little Netflix thing.
I'm not supposed to interrupt anymore, but I'm going to push in a little bit here. And I hear what Vinny's saying. We have an urgent, incremental problem with all of these people that are still trying to recover from the hurricane in North Carolina. In the middle of that urgent, incremental problem, why do we have urgent, incremental money going to Ukraine in a war? But you are right. If you step back to the U.S. budget, he's right, Vinny. You step back to it and you look at it as an annual budget thing. The unfunded, committed, future promises in Medicare and Social Security is a freaking Mount Everest compared to some of
That's
this
what
other
I'm saying.
stuff.
And if
That's
you just
what
look at
he's
it,
saying.
Yes.
But you're right. I'm going to.
I think the difference is, at least in my opinion, and people like Vinny and maybe PBD as well, but a ton of other people out there, that I've seen talk about this. Matt Walsh, who they try to suppress him over at the Daily Wire every single time he tries to talk about this, but at least he's trying to spread the truth a little bit. I think any money going to foreign aid, any money being spent that's not in the best interest of the U.S., which any money going over to the Middle East, any money going over to the Ukraine versus Russia war, none of that is in the best interest of the American people. It's in the best interest of the politicians' pockets and the weapons manufacturers, and that's about it. Any money that is being spent like that, I think we shut down all foreign aid until we can resolve the border crisis, get the crime issue in order, get the economy back in order, all this stuff. Like, why are we sending any dollar? I think it's more about the principle. There might be better things you can cut out of the budget, but the very obvious one to everybody out there is, why the hell are we spending so much money in Ukraine? Why are we sending money over to the Middle East for this war that could be ended? Both of them could be ended. Whenever the U.S. actually wanted to end them, they could be done. They could be finished in one way or the other. We either crushed the person who was trying to conquer the other that we were funding to defend themselves, or we stop funding the person who has nothing to do with us, is never going to help us in any sort of way ever. Stop funding them and let them be conquered, because they would do the same thing to us. But like I said, it's not about the morals or principles or saving people or defending this country that's the little guy or anything like that. It's just about money. So that's why I think people like Vinny, people like Matt Walsh, people like myself, and people like PBD say, let's just stop funding all this stuff until we get our own country in order. And that, I know that's like a novel statement, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a novel way of thinking to say, let's stop funding everything that's foreign until we get the domestic issues solved. Isn't that kind of obvious? Isn't that kind of common sense? What the crazy part is, a lot of people in the comments will get mad at me for saying that. A ton of people, especially when it comes to the Middle East stuff. You guys have been so brainwashed. Not all of you, but a lot of you have been so brainwashed to think, yeah, it's wild, dude. All of these people like Ben Shapiro and everybody at the Daily Wire, and so many people on Twitter, so many people in my comment section, they're like, yeah, dude, let's stop funding Ukraine. Let's stop funding all these foreign wars. And then I say, yeah, man, the Middle East too, right? And they're like, oh, no, we have to fund Israel. We have to. And if you say that we don't, you're an anti-Semite. What? Am I an anti-Semite, or do I just actually hold true to my values and my morals, my principles? Because I don't think I'm saying anything that's different from what I said about Ukraine or what I said about any of the other foreign wars that are happening. Kind of stayed true to everything. You're the one that's not staying true. It's like, why do you, and I understand they're an ally, right? They're an ally. I heard it a million times. But why do you think we should shut down foreign aid to every other war, every other country, until when it comes to the Middle East, that's when you're like, oh no, I'm going to just totally backtrack on that. We have to fund the Middle East. It's just so weird. Let me know in the comments though what you guys think about Vinny and Adam going at it once again. They do this all the time, and Vinny is always in the right. Vinny always shuts him down. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this PBD host, Vinny Oshana, really shutting down his co-host Adam here in this heated debate.